Hey everyone, my name is Taryn and thank you so much for stopping by my channel, Til Flowers House. This channel is all about my cut flower garden and I'm located in Zone 7B. I'm growing cut flowers here in North Carolina and this year I want to try experimenting with something new, and that is to get Ranunculus to force and bloom for Valentine's Day. I would love to be able to offer some kind of alternative to imported roses for Valentine's Day. Like most local growers, we don't have anything available in the month of February. Now, I know people successfully force ranunculus. I've heard that on a podcast lately, and growers also force tulips and things like that, but I do not have a heated greenhouse, so I'm not sure if this will work for me, but I'm certainly gonna try. I think it would be so awesome if I could figure this out. I'm also trying to plan now in advance what kind of fillers I would have available then as well. I'm kind of struggling with fillers right now as it is, just for tulip season, so I think it would be nice to find something that's evergreen, that looks really nice through the winter, and maybe has some kind of interest to it, like seed pods or something fun that would be available to cut on all through the holiday season and in through Valentine's Day, and also even all the way into May and early June, because there's just that gap that happens before all my fillers that like the heat come in, like celosia. So I'm really looking for something perennial that I can cut on through the winter. I'm gonna head to my local garden shop soon just to ask their opinion and see what they have to offer me. I do have some evergreen stuff, but it can tend to be a little prickly and uncomfortable to work with, and also sometimes it has a lot of sap with it and it's a little sticky. I just want to see what the local garden shop will recommend and hopefully put in some perennial plants that'll help me with that aspect of the bouquets as well. Scully wants in. Gotta go get her.
Can I help you?
Hi, Scully. Scully, do you want ranunculus for your Valentine's bouquet next year? I think you do. I know it's really way too early to force any kind of bulbs now for Valentine's Day, but I want to start the process of learning how to do it now. I'm sure I'm going to make plenty of mistakes and have a lot of learning to do, so it is the perfect time. I also have a lot of ranunculus corms left over from the fall. I tend to order way too many things, and so I didn't get to planting everything. So I'm going to use those corms from last season and see if I can get them to sprout and bloom. Now, depending on the season, I'm going to have different challenges. Right now, because it's going to be getting hot, I'm going to have to worry about soil temperatures being too high. And in the winter, I'm going to have to worry about it being too cold. So I think the one common thing between both seasons is, will I be able to pre-sprout and get the ranunculus going, and also getting them to bloom indoors? I want to see if I can get them shooting up blooms and starting their bloom process inside under my grow light. I'm also going to be growing these in pots so I can move them around. This will help me control the soil temperature a little better. I'm thinking in these warm months, I could let the ranunculus be outside during the morning sun and maybe some evening light. But overnight, I could pop them in my cooler and see if I could bring that soil temperature down and just see if they continue to bloom throughout these warmer months if I do that. In the winter time, I'm hoping that if I get them to start blooming, I can then put them outside to continue to get sun and bloom, even if it's cooler than 60 or 55 degrees, because they'll already be in their bloom stage. If anybody out there is already forcing ranunculus and bulbs without a heated greenhouse, please just leave us tips down below in the comments section, because we don't really need to reinvent the wheel with this if there's a system already out there that works. This season, my ranunculus blooms are a little disappointing. They're kind of on the small and short side, but I've been listening to a podcast about ranunculus lately, and I'll link that down below. It's from the Til Flowers Podcast. And I'm learning that there's a lot of things ranunculus need that I'm not doing. So I'm really encouraged by this information that I can get nice big ranunculus blooms. Once ranunculus have a bunch of foliage on them, they need to be well watered. Also, they are heavy feeders and I'm not feeding them. So that kind of explains why I had really good ranunculus the first year, because the soil was very fresh. So I need to be taking better care of my soil, and I will try to find some natural ways to feed these ranunculus. I'll probably start by using worm castings and also the compost from my subpod worm bin to fertilize and help feed these plants naturally. This time around, I'm also going to try pre-sprouting my ranunculus in the cooler. You can also do this in a refrigerator, but I'm going to be using a method where you just put pre-soaked corms into a mesh bag and allow them to sprout out of soil in a cool, dark location like a fridge or cooler. I didn't know that you could do this, and this helps you see if your corms are viable or not before you take up space planting them. And since I'm going to have very limited space in growing these ranunculus in pots, it'll be good to know which ones are viable and which ones aren't. Like I mentioned before, these ranunculus are left over from the fall season. You store ranunculus corms kind of like seeds, dry. I'm not sure how long you can do that for. I'll find out if these corms are too old to pre-sprout at all anyways. All right, let's go get these corms soaked and started. These are the ranunculus that I'm going to try this on. They're left over from the fall. I have some Toma Red and Marshmallow. The first thing I'm going to do with these is rinse them off really good before I soak them. This is actually a compost tea brewer. So a little pump will pump air through this tube to create the bubbles, and that keeps the water aerated and oxygen in there. And it just keeps the ranunculus healthier. They've been in here for several hours, so let's take these out and go check and see how they're doing. Okay, these look like they've plumped up pretty good. I will probably take these inside and rinse them off one more time. And then I will put them back in this bag and then put them in the cooler and hopefully wait for them to sprout roots. All right, these are now in the cooler. Just as a side note, my cooler has plenty of tulips in it for Easter and Mother's Day, as long as they hold. I also have some anemones in here. And ranunculus, there's a few ranunculus. And I ran out of space in the buckets, so I am just going to store these ones dry. I think that'll be okay for the short term, and I'll see how those do. Hopefully these ranunculus sprout up. Well, that is all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. As I go along in this process, I'm going to be making a full playlist, so all this information should be easily accessible in one spot on my channel. Just in case there's others that want to try this out, or if it really works, there'll be a good library of resources of what I've done over this season to get it to work. I really, really, really want to get this to work. So this is the first video, and I will keep a Ranunculus Valentine's Day playlist to see how this goes throughout the season, and we'll see if I'm successful or not come February. Thank you for watching, and the best way you can support me and my channel is to subscribe and share it with your flower loving friends. I'll see you next time. Bye.